Hello and welcome to Clearview News Desk. We are reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. I am Gloria Atta. Welcome. A former special advisor on political matters to President Bola Tinubu, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, has declared that the North will soon determine its political direction ahead of the 2027 general elections, stressing that no politician can win the Nigerian presidency without the region's support. Baba Ahmed made the statement in a video interview that went viral on social media on Sunday. The former presidential aide, known for his vocal stance on northern interests, stated that the region is becoming more politically aware and will no longer support any candidate who fails to understand or address its challenges. He lamented the current state of the nation and urged northerners to reject divisive and deceptive politicians as the country approaches another election cycle. Baba Ahmed, who previously served as the spokesperson for the Arewa Elders Forum before joining President Tinubu's team, recently resigned his advisory position to, according to him, rejoin the struggle for northern emancipation. Now, human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Fano, has dared the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, to report him to the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee over his analysis of the Supreme Court judgment on the Rivers State political crisis. Falana, in a statement on Sunday titled, "I did not lie against the Supreme Court of Nigeria," accused Wike of trying in vain to incite the Supreme Court against him. The Sun said, contrary to Wike's claim, he did not lie or misrepresent the Supreme Court's decision concerning the defection of 27 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Falana dismissed Wike's claims as spurious and tendentious in every material particular, accusing the minister of attempting to incite the apex court against him. Recall that Wike had publicly criticized Falana during a press conference in Abuja, asserting that the senior lawyer misrepresented the Supreme Court's ruling. However, Falana emphasized that his right to criticize court judgments is protected by both the Nigerian Constitution and international human rights law. And on a sad note, Pope Francis, the first Latin American pope, has passed away at the age of 88 in his residence at the Vatican's Casa Santa Marta. The Camerlengo of the Apostolic Chamber, Kevin Farrell, announced the pontiff's demise this Monday. His passing marks the end of a 12-year papacy defined by humility, compassion, and bold reforms, leaving a profound legacy for the world's 1.4 billion Catholics and beyond. Clearview News highlights the life and times of the Pope. Born George Mario Bergoglio, Pope Francis was born on December 17, 1936 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, to Italian immigrant parents. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, his father was an accountant, while his mother dedicated herself to raising their 5 children. As a young man, Bergoglio trained as an industrial chemist and worked briefly as a nightclub bouncer, revealing a multifaceted character. He enjoyed dancing the tango and even considered a secular life, but a chance encounter with a priest sparked a spiritual awakening that led him to the priesthood. Bergoglio entered the Society of Jesus, also known as Jesuits, in 1958 and was ordained in 1969. He began his early career teaching and serving as a Jesuit provincial superior in Argentina during a turbulent period marked by political unrest. Known for his humility, he often traveled by bus and lived simply, a trait that would define his papacy. In 1998, he was appointed Archbishop of Buenos Aires, and in 2001, he was made a cardinal by Pope John Paul II. His role as a key figure in the 2001 Synod of Bishops elevated his global profile, foreshadowing his eventual election. On March 13, 2013, following the historic resignation of Pope Benedict XVI. Bergoglio was elected the 266th Pope, choosing the name Francis in honor of Saint Francis of Assisi, reflecting his commitment to the poor and creation. As the first Jesuit Pope and first from the Americas, he was also the first non-European pontiff in over a millennium, and his election was seen as a landmark moment for the Church. Pope Francis' papacy was marked by a pastoral approach, earning him the nickname the People's Pope. He shunned the wealth of the apostolic palace, opting to live in the simpler Casa Santa Marta and frequently engaged with the marginalized, including refugees, prisoners, and the poor. His 2013 exhortation, Evangelii Gaudium, outlined a vision for a church focused on mercy and outreach, while his 2015 encyclical Laudato Si called for urgent action on climate change, cementing his role as a global advocate for environmental justice. Francis sought to reform the Vatican bureaucracy, emphasizing transparency and accountability. He championed decentralization, empowering local churches, which attracted criticism from conservatives who viewed his leadership as overly authoritative. His calls for zero tolerance on clerical abuse were bold, despite being criticized for being slow to address certain cases. His inclusive tone toward LGBTQ Catholics and his efforts to elevate women's roles while stopping short of ordination sparked both praise and frustration. His global influence was undeniable. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, Francis prayed alone in a rain-soaked St. Peter's Square, a powerful image of solidarity with a suffering world. Pope Francis brokered dialogues between faiths, notably fostering ties with Jewish and Muslim leaders, and made pastoral visits to Asia, Africa, and Latin America, prioritizing the global south. Pope Francis' health had been a great concern for years, stemming from the removal of part of his lung due to a respiratory infection in his youth. Since 2021, he has been hospitalized multiple times for bronchitis, pneumonia, and surgeries for intestinal issues and a hernia. In February 2025, he was admitted to Rome's Gemelli Hospital with a respiratory crisis that developed into double pneumonia. His 38-day hospital stay was marked by 4 respiratory crises, 2 of which were life-threatening, with doctors briefly considering halting treatment. However, he miraculously recovered enough to return home, where he continued physiotherapy and oxygen therapy. On Easter Sunday, April 20, 2025, Francis appeared in St. Peter's Square, blessing crowds from an open-air Pope mobile while delivering his Urbi et Orbi message, calling for freedom of thought and tolerance. He also met briefly with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, a moment that highlighted his continued engagement despite frailty. Tragically, less than 24 hours later, he succumbed to the cold hands of death. The announcement of the Pope's death has prompted an outpouring of grief, with thousands gathering at St. Peter's Square to pray amidst tribute from world leaders. In line with his wishes, Francis simplified papal funeral rites in 2024, requesting a single wooden coffin and no public display of his body on a raised platform. He also chose to be buried at Santa Maria Maggiore Basilica in Rome, breaking the tradition of interment in St. Peter's Basilica. The funeral, expected between April 25 and 27, will be followed by 9 days of mourning, after which the College of Cardinals will convene a conclave to elect his successor, a process steeped in centuries-old tradition. Pope Francis' emphasis on mercy, social justice, and care for creation reshaped the priorities of Catholicism, with his reforms challenging entrenched norms. As the Vatican prepares for a new chapter, his example as a humble servant of the gospel will endure, carrying forward the indelible mark of the first Latin American pontiff. A prominent Lagos hotelier, identified as Otumba Kunle Akinyele, has tragically passed away after collapsing during a church Thanksgiving service held in honor of his wife's 60th birthday over the weekend. It was gathered that the incident occurred at Christ Apostolic Church, Okeyanu, Odemuyiwa District Headquarters, Egbeda, Lagos State, leaving family, friends, and well-wishers in deep shock. In a now viral video shared on Facebook, the late businessman appeared visibly distressed, gesturing frantically, apparently requesting water or an inhaler moments before slumming while delivering his testimony. According to reports, the Thanksgiving service had been organized to celebrate his wife, Deaconess Catherine Adejoke Akinyele, with a grand reception scheduled to follow immediately after. However, those plans were abruptly halted when news broke that Akinyele had collapsed in church. Despite frantic efforts to revive him, he was pronounced dead shortly afterwards. May his soul rest in peace. Meanwhile, residents of Ogwa-Shiuku, Aniocha South local government area of Delta State, have been thrown into shock as 4 children have reportedly been abducted by child traffickers on Sunday night. It was gathered that 2 of the children of the same parents were abducted at the Umokwe quarters of the community, with residents pointing accusing fingers at 3 women who had secured an emergency accommodation in the neighborhood. Community sources allege that the women lured the children from their homes on the pretense of buying biscuits for them from a shop in the area. When contacted, the police public relations officer of the State Command, SP Bright Edafi, on Sunday confirmed the incident, adding that the landlady of the compound has been arrested and is in detention. And now to sports. Nigeria will take on hosts Egypt in a friendly match on Tuesday as part of their preparations for the 2025 Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations. The encounter is slated for the Cairo International Stadium at 4 p.m. Nigerian time. Aliyu Zubairu's side arrived Cairo for the competition on Sunday and are expected to play one more friendly before the start of the tournament. Nigeria will face Tunisia, Kenya and Morocco in Group B at the Under-20 AFCON. The 7-time champions will get their campaign underway against Tunisia in Cairo on Thursday, 1st May, while Egypt will host the competition from 27th April to 18th May 2025. Grammy-winning Nigerian singer Burna Boy has gifted Portable 20 million naira to celebrate his victory over Speed Darlington in the weekend celebrity boxing match. Clearview News reports that Portable won the Chaos in the Rings title after Speed Darlington failed to show up for the second round after breaking his arm during the first round. To celebrate the Zazu Crooner's victory, Burna Boy, who has been at loggerheads with Speed Darlington, gifted him 20 million naira. Portable, who disclosed this via his Instagram story on Saturday, wrote, 20 million naira from @BurnaBoyGram. If you wanna be like Odogu, can you do like Odogu? God bless your family.
Your mama, God bless your mama. Person human being. I don't know I'm ya gonna call you, I'm gonna call you. Burna Boy, just send me 20 million. Oh, I need my ballet. The Bible, Molly long gone. Keep my Burna Boy so long. Burna Boy, help me talk to God, you will catch my balloons or hello.
You can follow up on latest events and happenings around you via our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Clearview News Desk, or via our handle on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Clearview Online. Many thanks for joining us. I am Gloria Atta. Bye for now.